Doug Payne here, and about to head out on the 2022 Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event cross country, riding a horse called Quantum Leap, and Quantum is owned with Jessica and Susan Drillock. We've had him since a weanling, and this is going out now onto his third 5-star. He's an 11-year-old, and we're obviously super excited about him, and thinking his potential is unlimited, really. With that said, his first 5-star, he was very, very good. About halfway around, just about up at the hollow, he started to get a bit tired and got a touch numb and unresponsive. And so with that in mind, he was quite good at Maryland, but still, just with that in the back of my mind, I did go out a little conservative here in the first, call it 2-3 minutes. And then I was just planning to gauge where he was, how he felt, and then from there, if he felt really good, we'd obviously take a shot at getting the time. So first couple fences, just nice open galloping ones. This is our first combination. We've got our log here, left turn to a corner. And I'd actually already been out on this course once with Quinn. He did not jump the A terribly well. And so I was just a touch more defensive there to try to give Quantum a little bit more room. And clearly he just locked on and was just cruising. And with having these horses from the very beginning, I think, is just a huge advantage, especially with eventing. And especially this course, I think there's a lot of different questions that are asked that are super sort of instinctive things, really not terribly predictable, and so to know each other inside out is just a tremendous advantage. And here you'll see along the entirety of it, I try to be as efficient as I can, so we'll be right up against the ropes on the inside of the turn. Luckily, the footing was quite good and quite consistent across the board. And so there wasn't any spots that I really had to avoid because it was deep or whatever it might be. First really significant combination here, the coffin. Again, learning from the previous horse, it came in just a touch stronger. Quantum's just very good with ditches and stayed dead straight there. The nice thing from this, compared, they actually had a 4-star going on at the same time, and I actually think the 5-star was a touch easier just because you could see it from a mile away. And it's something I really appreciate about Derek's courses in general, is that you're really presenting the horses with a challenge, but they are able to see all of what's being asked. There's no sort of trap there. These two, it could have been either a 4 or a 5 stride line. I did 4 strides on the first horse, Vandiver, but it really kicked me quite wide. So I chose on Quantum there to actually just dial it back, do the 5, and be able to land and turn a little quicker. I think it was just that fraction quicker on the backside. And with as many jumps as we have on a 5-star course, if you can save a couple steps on each one, it's going to pay massive dividends in the end. So along here, just about my first indication of where he's at as far as his fitness and how well he feels. And he felt really, really good. It's hard to tell there. This is just at the crest of a hill, but he'd been climbing there for a good period of time. And with all that said, I knew, okay, I could probably start to take a shot. We were only down on the clock maybe 5 or 6 seconds at this point, so certainly within range of picking that back up. And so my goal then for this next bunch of the course was chase it as best we could. This is absolutely just a rider frightener, huge ditch in front of it, ditch and wall. But clearly Quantum couldn't care much at all. This actually ended up riding way tighter of a turn than I expected it would. I'm trying to stay right up against the ropes and not get too far then to the right before this next turn, because you want it to actually be right of center. You've got a combination here. It's a 4-stride to a 3-stride. And with that, on drop landing, they tend to land and sort of peck, so I tried to come in pretty open and pretty gallopy to get that 4-stride, and then the 3-stride then gets quite easy. If you ended up being a bit more conservative at the A there, you really have to push for the 4, and then the 3 gets quite messy. But frankly, Quantum handled that with ease. And now we're just flying here. He's just a pleasure to ride, especially on cross country. Super genuine. He goes in just a snaffle, plain noseband. Nice. I really don't like these jumps. Just nice, big, scary things. The narrow oxer is kind of old school, but I mean, it jumps well enough. But we're cruising up here to the hollow, and the hollow was the first real, well, I guess we had our coffin, but then now to this is the first big question. Planning probably going to be in 4 strides from the A. It's a real steep downward slope, just hard to predict how they're going to handle it, what they're going to do, to a corner, and then a left turn up to a skinny. I decided to go a bit wide and head towards that Land Rover sign that you see straight ahead. Gave a much better angle, I think, to the B, and he got down there on the 4 quite easy. A little bit tight to the C, but no big deal, especially when you're lucky enough to be on a horse that has as much scope as Quantum does. Now we've got a very long stretch of just downhill, open space within the course here, so it's an awesome place to start to try to chip away at that time and see if we can't get a bit closer. Chose the left side. You could do left or right, didn't much matter. And now we're heading down. There's a water jump coming up next. Just a single wedge in the middle of the water, but in the back of my mind, we were galloping here for quite a long time. Wanted to actually, just before stepping into the water, kind of break that up a bit. So went a little half halt here. He actually responded a lot better than I expected, because last year this is where he started to feel a little numb. But break it up a touch, a little extra power, and pop over that. He lands, just gallops away. And then I had to go, whoa, a little easy here, because we have a bounce bank down, 3 strides to the skinny. And so the bounce, I just didn't want him flying into that and overshooting it. But again, it jumped really, really well. Get right up against the ropes there, save every inch you can. Next big thing that we're starting to think about now, I've got one let-up jump, which is a big table, but then we've got the head of the lake. The head of the lake, I had a decision to make. There was a direct route that's a 6-stride bend from a thing on a mound, brush on a mound to a corner, but it was quite tightly roped. So I actually chose to do the alternate line, which I thought would actually be quite close, and my best estimation, I think it was probably about 5 seconds different, but it took all of the difficulty away. And it also allowed for just a nice smooth trip through the water, which, again, with a slightly less experienced horse, I think definitely can help you in the end. If they think it's smooth and easy, their confidence remains high, and it should help you later in the course. So dead straight across, tried to get as efficient as I could, right up against the direct line here, and then looking back, just trying to get your line onto the corner, and then we're going to pop down this little slope here, whoa, quick, and then I went to the direct corner, which was just a really forgiving line from this angle. So we were pretty quick through there. Certainly, I would say lost a couple seconds, handful of seconds, whatever it might have been, but I think mentally for him, it was just a much easier, more flowing line and effort, and I think in that, maybe a bit older next time around, next year, we'll go dead straight right off the bat, but just trying to be mindful to keep looking after him as best we can. Footbridge coming up. You just don't want to have a big old miss to it. It's a nice big jump, tends to jump really well. Got a great one at it. And luckily for me, Quantum doesn't seem to be bothered at all by ditches. So that's an absolute huge advantage. Coming up to the Normandy bank, bounce bank, so it's quite a large effort for the A. We're bouncing over, I think it's a duck on the top, and then it's 3 strides to a wedge. He still felt really strong here, so in that way I actually tried to keep coming at this. I knew that he was going to pop up, and frankly got a little easy into the 3, but he's dead honest, and that worked out really well. Again, we're still cruising now down the hill. We've got a jump over top of another ditch, and then we're rolling back onto what I think was probably one of the hardest combinations. I'm not sure statistically if it was, but certainly the amount of effort needed in riding it, especially with the other horse. We jumped here, roll back, you've got a brush, goes down into a pond, and then it was a left hand, either 5 or 6 strides probably to 2 angled brushes, which was intended to jump in 1. There was a lot of people that ended up jumping that in 2. But this is kind of the last spot on the course where you get that slight little nervous tick coming into here thinking, I really hope this all goes well. So as far right as I could get, flowing down, and we got the 5, and then actually the 1 was super easy. I mean, honestly, that was way easier than it should have been. And all credit goes to Quantum, really. He was just flowing, locking on to stuff, and just working really, really well at this point. So looking down at the watch, I knew I was, again, quite close. And now we have some space here where we can go, and frankly, a couple minutes to the finish line, he still felt amazingly good. And so I'm just honestly going about as fast as we can through this whole section of the course. Tight turn on the backside here. Again, I didn't quite account for that. You feel like you're getting pulled out to that person. They're very brave for sitting there. cruising up. We've got one table here at the top of the hill. Being that now we're galloping tired again, break it up a little bit. Make sure we get a good jump here, because it'd be really, really dumb to fly up there and hang a leg. And here, this could be 4, could be 5. We got a roll top brush to a skinny. I just went for the easy 5 because I actually made the turn on the backside a little easier. Because it doesn't look like much, but there's actually quite a good drop on the backside of it. And from this point forward, you got 2 left, and you're just chasing the clock. We've got a tricaner, which honestly is just a log with a really nice ground line, and then our last fence, which is a wonderful shape actually for our last fence, because the brush comes up on either side, so it really tends to hold their attention. And after the tricaner here, we ended up finishing just 3 seconds over the time, so again, I could not have been happier, and he jumped clear again, show jumping, which is pretty impressive for him. He's now done, at every 5-star he's jumped a clear show jumping round, so finished up in 3rd place overall in the USEF National Championship as well. And just thankful every day that we have such a great horse to work with.